Go.Compare sponsors the Rugby World Cup report on Sky Sports News.
Good evening from northern France. Le Touquet, we're just round the corner from England's training base, and we've just learnt in the last hour the bad news that England flanker Tom Curry will miss their next 2 matches. He's been banned for 2 games for the red card he received after just 3 minutes in England's win over Argentina in Marseille on Saturday. England choosing not to contest the red card. It was a clash of heads, the sort of challenge World Rugby are trying to crack down on, and Curry will miss their trip to Nice to take on Japan on Sunday, and also the game against Chile the following weekend. Not the worst news though, because Billy Vunipola, England's number 8, is due back from his ban, so he can come into the back row. Tom Curry can drop out, maybe perhaps Ben Earl could move to the flank. So England do have options, and Curry will be back for that final pool game against Samoa, and then the knockout stages, which England are now looking on course for after that win over Argentina. We've seen some inconsistencies in the officiating in terms of these high tackles and the cards distributed, but the England camp are refusing to blame the officials.
Obviously, rugby's a split-second game, and obviously we've been on the wrong side of a few of the calls. Not the wrong side, but we've got a few reds in the last couple of games. But that's what it is. It's rugby. You've got to get on with it. We understand the laws. Obviously, it's disappointing when you go down to 14 men, but I think the way we went about it the weekend was brilliant. And to come away with that kind of result with 14 was great.
It is an invasion sport where, you know, collisions happen, accidents happen. It's a fast-moving game with incredible athletes. So it gives you some insight to what may or may not happen on the field. But I appreciate, lads, that I can't elaborate on my thoughts on our head knock or any others.
England returned to training today after a couple of days off after that win over Argentina in Marseille. And there was an added buzz to training. You could sense the relief, the pressure release having beaten Argentina. Remember the pressure England have been under, 1 win in 5, question marks over Steve Borthwick's experience as an international coach, question marks over their attack, their defence was leaking points, and England came together and beat Argentina with a man down, and I think that has really pulled them together. It was very noticeable at training, the added buzz, and Elliot Daly spoke to me earlier saying that they really, really believe they can pull through and get out of this group. And sometimes in adversity at these World Cups, you really find your way. I remember France were all over the place in 2011. They locked their coaches out the training ground. It was mutiny in the French camp. They were terrible. They played awful rugby throughout the pool stages, but somehow got to the knockouts and then made it to the final. Similarly, England back in 2007, no one gave them a hope. They were thrashed by South Africa in their opening game, but then they grew, they found a way to win, they got to the knockouts. So maybe this England team have found that way to win. It's knockout rugby, and now maybe we can see an improvement, and they'll play a bit more expansive rugby against Japan in Nice. I should say Nice is a long way away. England are going to fly there. The plan is to fly there on Friday. There were proposed strikes, air traffic control strikes happening on Friday, but they've been cancelled, so England will fly on Friday. Talk they could have flown early on Thursday. We're going to be driving it. I can tell you here, England's training base in Le Touquet, we are 37 miles from the UK. We are 750 miles from Nice. James Savundra, my colleague, is just 300 miles away in tour with the Ireland team. James.
Yeah, thank you very much, James. Here in tour after a record win for Ireland in their opening match against Romania. They know things are going to start getting more difficult, starting against Tonga in Nantes on Saturday. And when it comes to Ireland, they've been in brilliant form. The world's #1 ranked side, 26 wins from their last 28 test matches, but the main question mark heading into this competition is whether they can end that World Cup curse. They've never been past a World Cup quarter-final. They've never won a knockout match in this competition. And that's why they brought in Gary Keegan as high-performance coach. He transformed Irish boxing, turning them into medal winners, helping the likes of Katie Taylor along the way. And I asked him earlier today whether they'll be dwelling on previous failures at World Cups as they look to go one better and do something very special here in France.
We're not bothered by it. I think this group wear that skin very well. It's not normally in the Irish mentality, but if you're there, you've earned the right. But there's a recognition across this entire group, including staff, that we have to continue to earn the right. Nothing is going to be given to us. And every new performance has to be generated and created. We can't live off a past performance. So I think that's the attitude, this curiosity about how we can improve as a group is there across all roles within the group, not just the playing group, the coaching group, but our whole performance support group and our operations group is the same. How can we improve? How can we innovate as a group? So keep grounded and stay curious.
So Andy Farrell faces a real dilemma when it comes to naming his 23 for the game against Tonga on Saturday, because a match against the world champion South Africa next weekend is very much on the horizon, and the big dilemma is what to do with the captain, Johnny Sexton. Now, he became Ireland's oldest player at a World Cup at the age of 38, playing in what was his first match since March due to injury and suspension. He scored 24 points against Romania, the most he's ever done in a test match, and that moves him within 9 points of Ronan O'Gara's all-time record of 1,038. So if he starts the match on Saturday, you'd suspect he'd break that record and set his own. But the question is, do you look to build his match sharpness ahead of big games to come, or do you make sure you don't take any risk knowing you've got those matches against South Africa and Scotland? So Andy Farrell may be thinking that this would be a good opportunity to make sure all his 33-man squad gets some minutes, because this will be the last opportunity that Ireland have for any rotation with those big matches ahead of them in what was a really challenging pool. And if he is to give some minutes out, there's an opportunity potentially for the scrum half Craig Casey, who we spoke to earlier on today, and he gave me his take on what will be a tougher test against Tonga on Saturday.
They've got really good players. There's some serious players that have came back to Tonga that have shown their hand in previous World Cups and have a lot of experience behind them. We know they're going to be physical, but they've got some really good ball players as well. I think Avili at 10 is a very good boot, and he's a very smart player as well, so he'll probably put them around the place nicely and get their big ball carriers into the game. So I know obviously Mala very well from his time at Munster, so I know how physical he can be, so we're expecting that this weekend.
So there's scrum half Craig Casey, who hope to be involved this weekend ahead of really tough games to come at the end of this pool stage for Ireland against South Africa, the world champions, and then Scotland in their final pool match. But they'll continue their preparations here in Tora ahead of that next game. They take on Tonga on Saturday in Nantes in the evening kickoff.
Go.compare sponsors the Rugby World Cup report on Sky Sports News.